What's up, Skip?
How's it going?
I'm good. How are you doing, bud?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How are
How's
you out on the porch on a rocking chair?
Oh yeah. You got to
I'm
get away
jealous.
from the crazy twins.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous. How are the twins?
It's they're really good. We actually took them to the water park last weekend. I think that was more work than play. Um, but they're doing good. They just turned one, so we actually had our first couple of nights in a row that Dad got to sleep all night long. So that's always a positive.
Absolutely. That small victory, right?
Hey, you take what you can get, buddy.
Well, I thought I saw Gavin pop on. Um, so hopefully he'll be able to join us here in a sec. But um, do you want to just kind of jump in, and when he's able to join us, we'll just keep the flow. Is that all right?
Yeah, bud. That sounds good.
Okay. So I'm just going to kind of approach this like people who are tuning in probably kind of have no idea of the work you've been doing, right? And we'll just completely start from scratch. So um, I was trying to remember how we first got in contact, right? And I couldn't actually pull it off, but you were already working on conducting a BFR study with football athletes. And maybe the best way to start is to give an overview of the study you were attempting might be a good way to put it, attempted to conduct.
Yeah, yes, Skip. I remember it as we were. I think I was in my backyard playing with Brecken, and we had with the unit system that we are going to use to help validate our study and track all of our reps and sets, and try to get some more validity added to the study. Kind of fell through about 2 weeks before we were about to start the study. On top of the whole COVID and craziness that was going on, and we're trying to get guys back and try to follow the right steps into making sure that everybody's safe in that process. Yeah, I've reached out to you about 2 weeks prior to the start of the study, and it just kind of went on from there, bud. I mean, you guys were first class all the way. I'm very interested in the study. It was kind of like me putting my car salesman hat on and trying to find someone that believed in us and what we were doing, and trying to help our community continue to grow. And I think that's what sports medicine and strength conditioning is all about, is finding new ways to do something. And
Well, speaking of
hopefully we
SNC,
find that.
Gavin's in the house.
Hey,
Gavin,
Gavin.
how are you?
Hey guys, good man. I had to steal my wife's phone to get on here. Mine wasn't working right, so I grabbed hers and jumped on.
Well, technology. Well, that
You never know.
seems like a joke I ought to be allowed to make, right?
That's right.
Hey, I thought the Polak would mess this up, not you.
Yeah, well, had to give you a chance, a little spotlight there.
There you go.
So, Mike, do you want to give people kind of a basic understanding of what the study in and of itself was or is?
Yeah. Pretty much what this study was is we were looking for a way to kind of give us an edge on other, strength conditioning programs out there. And I had been doing blood flow restriction for about 2 years with our ACLs, and was having just tremendous results with using BFR on our post-op ACLs. And we turned 2 ACLs around in 4.5 months, and that just was like, that's mind-blowing. And started to think, well, what would happen if we took this and we use it as a compound exercise in our Olympic strength conditioning program? Well, what would a 100% healthy athlete be able to do with this? And so what the study came down to, we created, me and Gavin, myself, created a study that was a nonlinear undulating periodization program. So we would use, for example, week 1, on Tuesday we did bench press BFR, and then on Thursday was the last training day of our summer conditioning program in the week. We would use back squat with BFR. Now, that consists of a couple of variables, right? Week 1, we use a 20% 1 rep max that intensity that we're using on this periodization program for week 1. And, I think Gavin can speak this as well. We were seeing guys just that were guys in the weight room just absolutely getting their butts kicked. And, the cardiac output, the amount of work that they were able to get out of it with that low of an intensity is just insane. So, BFR, when you're doing a BFR compound exercise, you have 4 sets of a complete total of 75 reps. So it starts out, set 1, you're at 30 reps. You rest for a minute. Next set, 15 reps, and you rest for a minute. Another set of 15, you rest for a minute. And the last one, you it's another set of 15, you rest for a minute. And during that time, the limb occlusion pressure in the cuffs, so if you're doing a back squat, it would be your proximal thigh that you would put each cuff at. And you're having that pressure stay on the entire time, entire 75 reps. Because, past research shows that the occlusion, if you have it on the entire duration, promotes a lot more HGH creation, as well as, continuing to keep that cardiac output high and increasing your VO2 max. So, that's, and then what we did from there is we would just, the next week we would do bench press and back squat on week 2 as a normal off-season intensity, but we would use BFR with our accessory lift that day. So like on Tuesday, we'd bench normal. We'd have skull crushers with BFR on Tuesday on week 2. And then on Thursday with the back squat, we'd back squat regular, normal off-season intensity, but we would do hip extensions with BFR on. So we alternated it like a nonlinear undulating periodization. So, I really saw it kind of, I feel like it helped our athletes not just kind of, you get to those first 2 weeks and you just kind of get used to it. You don't get sore, you start kind of flattening out a little bit. But what we saw was guys were increasing and we're confusing the body throughout this process. And, it was a really cool, exciting experience. I myself and Gavin didn't personally know what would come out of it. And, we're kind of excited to share what we saw throughout this process. And, Gavin, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, man, it was awesome. When Mike brought it to me the first time, it's like you said earlier, the idea came to his head, and how can we kind of combine and join the strength and conditioning aspect to the athletic training aspect. We saw a lot of good results from rehab, and if injured athletes are getting great results, how's it going to benefit our healthy and 100% athletes? And as soon as he brought it to my attention and kind of brought it to mind, we kind of sat down and put our heads together to figure out a program that's going to benefit the guys across the whole summer. The next step was trying to convince these guys that this is going to be a little different way of training, but if you'll just kind of buy into our process and see what we have for you, you'll see results. And you'll be eager to try it again. And as tough as it was, you kind of had those skeptical guys that, you want me to work at 20% of my max. It's not going to be that tough. We got
doesn't sound right.
So. Yeah, exactly. So we got halfway through the workout, and those guys were hurting, but in a good way. They saw that pump and they saw the results that, that day was kicking their butt a little bit. So we initially didn't know if we were going to be able to get them buy-in, but after day 1, we were having to turn guys away from the program. We were trying to turn them back because we needed to have a control group. We needed the guys that were going to stick to the normal program, but they were wanting to jump on the BFR. So we kind of had to turn guys away to keep them as a control group, and the results and the numbers kind of spoke for themselves. It was exciting for us. We saw numbers the first couple of weeks that we weren't expecting to see till week 4 or 5 or 6, and we were excited about that. And it automatically brought some guys in on the program, and we were excited. We were trying to see how to expand upon it for the next go around.
So when when Mike first brought this to your attention, Gavin, like, were you one of the challenges that we see because we cross over a little bit, right, in discussions is it's not always that like athletic training works well with strength
Right.
conditioning, right?
Right.
So, like, do you just have a great relationship there where there wasn't sort of breaking down the value of doing it, or how was that for you when he initially said, "Hey, you know what I want to do? I want to
Yeah.
completely change how half these guys, not
Right.
half, but
Yeah.
how these guys are training." I think we lost Mike for a little bit, but
We
let's
did.
just keep going until he
That's
can join
great.
back in.
I can talk bad about him now that he's off. So,
That's why it's a
so
cocktail hour. It's
that's
casual. We
it.
can throw
There
some
you go.
smack.
Man, Mike and I have had a great relationship since he got here. You know, he does a great job in the training room. I try to carry that over in the weight room. So when he brought this up to me, you know, like any strength coach, I'm like, you want me to cut back 40% on their maxes and train them for reps in the middle of the summer, right after a pandemic? You know, I was a little skeptical myself. And I always tell people that, you know, me personally, if I'm going to expect my players to do something, I want to have at least tried it. So I strapped the cuffs on. I did some push-ups
Nice.
one day. I did some body weight squats. I really wanted to see what it's going to feel like. So when he brought the idea of, you know, we're going to change the program, the strength coach in me was like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of got my program written out, but, you know, we start sitting down talking about, you know, the results he's gotten from training, the rehab results that he's gotten. And then he started talking about getting EliteForm included. You know, that was the biggest question I had is how are we going to track this? You know, I can base it off what the guys say, but some of these guys will tell you what you want to hear. You know, they're excited to do it. So let's turn it up and go. Well, with EliteForm, you can't skip that. You see the bar speed, you see the force production, you see all those results right there on the screen. So that was a huge part for me. You know, I wanted to have reliable response or feedback. And so when he brought EliteForm in the picture, and I realized that, you know, we can use some technology to get some accurate response and get some feedback from what the guys are doing, I was excited. I was excited to see what we were going to be able to produce, and then being able to track it over the course of that 4 to 6 weeks. It really showed me that, you know, this was going to be an opportunity for us to kind of change what we did.
How did when you strapped the cuffs on, like how did that feel for you going through a workout? Because like you mentioned, just being able to get some like objective feedback.
Right.
And we work with the Queensland Academy of Sport down in Australia, and Chris Caviglio is one of the coaches down there, and he's really big into BFR. And he sent me some cuffs,
Right.
and like I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I'm not the dumbest. Like it
Right.
would be very difficult, I think, to like try to be objective in your feedback, just because going through some work with those things on is just so
Right.
much different. Is that how you found it?
It was, you know, when he first brought it to me, I kind of was like, I'm going to see what this is like. You know, I've done my fair share of push-ups and worked out. So that was my first test. I'm going to drop down and see how many push-ups I can knock out. And after 30 push-ups, it felt like somebody was standing on my back. Kind of the blood flow restriction hindered my technique. It kicked me in the butt a little bit. So that's when I kind of flipped the light bulb, and I said, you know, there's something to this. You know, I can knock out 30 push-ups easily. It was a struggle to knock out 30. So then I started realizing that, you know, there's something to this. The blood flow and the science behind it's there. So after that first round, I kind of think I bought in pretty quick. Then he came back and said, well, we got to do lower body later, and I said, well, I know what the athletes feel like now. You throw in a bunch of stuff,
Right.
I don't know what you're talking about. And but it was great. I love the experience, and we'll still throw them on sometimes when we're doing some recovery circuits in the weight room. I'll throw them on. My GAs throw them on. They want to do that obvious arm farm workout, try to get the biceps to pump a little bit. And but we bought in. We definitely bought in, and we were quick to see how we were going to throw it into our summer program.
Welcome back, Mike.
Man, I don't know what just happened.
No big deal. No big deal.
Technology.
Gavin and I were both joking that we just, would talk a little smack about you while you were offline there for a
Hey,
second. So,
yeah, hey, tough love's the best love, buddy.
There you go.
so we were talking about like you, Mike, trying to get buy-in like with the idea, and kind of Gavin was walking through like kind of how he put the cuffs on and did some work. Did you find that the things went a little bit smoother once you had Gavin's buy-in?
Yeah, I would say he kind of gave me this look like, man, are you serious right now? I mean, I'm not a strength musclehead, but Gavin is a strong dude, and if he kicked his tail, I'm sure other guys are going to have issues with it, and it's just like kind of like I was saying, BFR just kind of gives you a different level of strengthening the body. It's just a different kind of workout. And I think if you incorporate those two, what we saw, it's creating a toxic environment for us to, continue to build these guys and get them stronger and continue to grow in that periodization cycle. And then I actually even have put a couple of our football coaches on it as well, just to kind of get them to understand.
Arm farm?
Like
Do they go arm farm?
This is no, they did back squats.
All right.
And it crushed.
Quality.
We have one coach, Coach Kilgore. He's a CrossFit guy, and I think I put 185 on the bar, and he was just second set. He was just done. But our coaches have been behind us. They put me and Gavin. They put so much trust in us to know that we're doing the right thing for our guys and helping them put them in the best position to reach their goals on a daily basis, whether it be in season, off season. That's the biggest challenge I would think for most people in the college world is just having that line of communication and that trust put into place.
Well, that's one of the reasons I wanted to make sure to ask you both about kind of how that went between you two, because I remember like Doc Rea at Alabama commenting once that you can find studies, but you can't often find studies that are actually involving athletes, right? Because particularly with any given sport coach, it's really hard to convince them that like you want to take their athletes with wins and losses are gigantic, right? And now we're going to do this thing that is basically new for a lot of people, which kind of leads me to what I was going to ask next, which is like, how did that? So you guys get things connected, and you're willing to go for it. Like, how did that play out? Like further up the chain?
Well, I can answer. It looks like Mike's offline again. He must.
We got to get him a better internet connection.
Our coaching staff, like Mike said, Coach Gross is a big weight room guy that if we've got an idea or a way to take our athletes through something that may be new to him or something, a lot of times he kind of trusts us a bit, wants to see a little bit of proof. I mean, it's like any coach. If I
sure.
the softball staff or the baseball coach, they want to see what we're talking about, where we're coming from. But the coaches did a great job, kind of trusting us. They saw the results from our athletes in the training room. They saw the recovery time drop. I mean, some of these guys had some minor injuries and went through this BFR recovery, and they're back on the field quick. So selling it to those guys was not as difficult as we thought. We didn't know if they would want to maybe go in and say, okay, let's take some, non-travel guys or some developmental guys and let's try it with them. But let's not do our starters. Let's not do our veteran guys. And we were ready for that. We were prepared for that. We thought maybe they would want to see on paper results from our non-travel or our red shirt guys, and then we'll take it on to the next level to the starters and the veteran guys. But they saw the results from our training room. They were excited about the opportunity. And it was just a different year. We kind of explained to them that it may be a fast track. By no means was it the overnight fix, but coming off of being shut down for 2 months. We went home in March. We sat at home for April and May, and then we were able to get a small number back in June. So getting them to understand that this is not an overnight fix, but this is a chance to kind of kill two birds with one stone with not only strength training, but recovery. The BFR, the benefits from BFR in the recovery realm kind of sparked their interest. And so when we brought that to their attention, they were all on board with it. And some of the players, you couldn't get them to stop talking about it, you know. And, you know, you
That's
got
awesome.
that typical, some of them wanted to measure their arms before workouts and measure them afterwards. You know, they were bought in that much. So a lot of good feedback from the players went a long way. And at the end of the summer, when we were able to kind of sit back and look at numbers, the numbers we saw were just kind of through the roof. They're unbelievable how fast and how much improvement we were able to see. And pulling up our EliteForm stuff and showing it kind of on a screen of just steady increase throughout that 6 weeks was huge. So that was big for us. It was exciting for us. And like I said earlier, from this study in and of itself, we started developing ideas for our next step. What are we going to do on BFR season 2? You know, so that's what we want to build from, that initial study, and add more pieces to the puzzle.
Nice. I'm gonna kind of go back a half step because you hit on something I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with COVID. You had this study that you were getting ready to work through, and so where I think a lot of people would have said, you know what, we're already having enough challenges with COVID.
Right.
Let's not add BFR into the mix. For you guys, it was the reverse, where you kind of saw it as opportunity. Is that a fair way to summarize it?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And you can ask Mike. He kept this study on the books the whole time. And as I'm worrying about, are we going to get to start back this week? We just kept powering through this study. And even though that there were threats of shutting down the program, and like every team in the country, you know, with COVID going on, we were worried that, are we going to have to take a step back? We just kind of forged through it. And it was a kind of the mindset of, we're doing something we've never done before. We're still getting results, so let's keep pushing. And when we went home for the 4th, we still had good positive results. We're going to keep doing it again. And Mike, you know, he stayed on the same track. He kept pushing through this study, even though, you know, he started getting players worried about, are we going to shut down? Are we going to play? We didn't know what we were doing. We just kept the course and stayed to our study. And luckily, at the end of it all, we were able to get enough results to have a pretty decent study and get the thing published.
I can't remember. Did you guys ever actually end up getting shut down for a little while, or was it always kind of, we were concerned about it, but it never actually happened? Because I remember Mike calling a few times, kind of like, what the
that
hell?
was it.
Yeah, I was worried, guys. I'm not going to lie. I think that's the main reason why we cut off. I mean, we started with 32 in the study. We dropped the first 2 weeks, went great. And then we dropped to 19, and we were on that kind of that week off we were going to take. So instead of taking that week off and moving to the next microcycle, we were like, hey, let's get what we can get now. Let's max out this week to kind of save what we had, and to kind of really look at our results and see if there's anything there that we can publish or not. And thankfully, you know, it went a lot better than – it went 10 times better than I thought it could have ever gone. But it was good. It was great. Great experience.
And so in the midst of the pandemic, doing the study, didn't you guys end up 10-3? Do I remember that right?
Yeah,
We did.
We went 10-3. I mean, and then it was a 4 games in the fall, and then we went 3-1, and then it was another, eight conference games, 7 conference games, and then we made it to the quarterfinals of the playoffs. So we just got done 2 weeks ago. So it's been
Which just shows what a weird year it's been.
Yeah.
Or a year and a half.
I think my wife, and I'm sure Gavin's wife too, were on the verge of just you guys ever going to be home? You know, and it's tough. But, you know, I think I can probably say that every coach's wife that is on board with them and my wife, you know, they support us 110%. So that makes it easier when you have that.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, uh, so you grind through the study, grind through the season, successful in both. And then you submitted it to the NSCA, right? And it now has
Yeah.
been accepted for presentation. So can you tell folks a little bit about kind of what that looks like?
Yeah.
Maybe kind of what that process has been?
Yeah.
Yeah, go
It's
ahead.
been, I'll be honest with you, Skip, it's been a long process. I mean, we're going on, what, a year since we've started this thing.
Yeah.
Thing from starting the IRB in January to now, we're to the point where we're starting to get on platforms to kind of show everybody what we did. And, you know, I think we applied for that podium presentation about mid-February. And then we got notice like last week in April, that we were going to get to present there. And hey, I mean, that's the platform right there to kind of show the rest of our professional community what we did and you know what the future holds with some of the stuff that we're working on right now. And we're real excited. We're thrilled. You know, things are. You put hard work in, and it's a grind. It's every week, you know, and then you throw COVID on top of it. Our research team was just hit with 10 more variables that you know, I mean, for example, we had to have our first group that came in. We had 48 that came in, and we had them set up in each A1, A2, B1, B2 groups, 4 groups of 12, and these guys couldn't be in contact with that group can be in contact with that group. So it gets, and then you think about, we're putting the EliteForm in the weight room, and we have to put a rack in between each. So it's like, you know, it gets a lot harder. You're running from one side of the weight room to the other to continue. But, you know, I can't say enough for the people that helped us in this study, like Gavin and his strength conditioning staff and my athletic training staff. I mean, we couldn't have done it without them. You know, it was all hands on deck. I can even recall one day, you know, I came in, we got a lift group. It's a BFR day. And, you know, the Wi-Fi's out. And I'm like, oh no, like, what are we going to do? And we ended up just quickly getting hotspots on each camera with our phones to make it happen. And, you know, I think that's all, you know, street coaches and athletic trainers, you know, you got to adapt to situations and be ready to come up with a quick plan to
Sure.
make it work, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Just to back up a half step, because just in case people tune in and they're like, well, wait, where's this presentation taking place? Like, we're talking NSCA, right?
Yeah, it's at the NSCA National Conference. It's in Orlando this year. It's going to be from July 7th to July 10th. And we present on the 10th, I believe, at 9:45 a.m. So it's, you know, I guess we get to save the best for last. I hope
Are you
we
guys both a part of that presentation, or how does that work?
Yes, sir, we are. It's myself and Gavin, and then also Ed Lacara. That is, he's been a huge asset to this whole research project. I would say he's probably one of the top researchers in blood flow restriction in the country, and he's been a huge help with not only the paper part but creating the study part and bouncing off ideas and talking to him at what's been out there and what needs to be done and what he thought of our idea and how could we make it better. And, you know, he's been a huge help, really, really knowledgeable guy. And then Chris Clark and Keith Lowe. You know, Keith Lowe's our stat guy that ran all our stats throughout this process. And then Dr. Chris Clark, he's our athletic training professor. So he got involved and he did help on every angle aspect of the study. Then actually, my father is on the study. He's a PT so I kind of got thrown into that early out of the womb. But you know, he's taught me a lot, and he's a PT professor at North Georgia. So a lot of great knowledge, a lot of great minds put together to make this thing happen. And I can't say enough for everybody. Thank everybody that helped in this process, because it's not a one-man show by no means if you're trying to do what we did during the time we did it.
Yeah, definitely. It's a cliche, right? But like people will say, it takes a village,
You know,
and for sure
we
it
needed
does.
more villages in all reality would have been nice, but we made it happen, Captain. So
Yeah.
So, going forward, like, where are you guys planning on taking BFR from here? Like, and I'm kind of curious, like, are the athletes like expecting this is going to become like a regular thing because you got so much buy-in, or how? Like, I'm curious as to how it's playing out on multiple levels, because you've got the
yeah,
academic side where you're succeeding, but Gavin's got guys strolling into the weight room who want to get after it specifically with BFR, right?
yeah, we got a couple guys that I think Umstead Sanders is one of them. He would come in every day when we get the BFR going again. Man, that was awesome. It's kids like that in the JSU athletic department and program that makes this even happen. We have great. It's like home is how I would put it. Guys, we have their backs and they have our backs, and they put their trust in us. Make sure we put them in the right situation. But the future, we've got a couple stakes in the fire right now. Excited about getting the third generation automated pumps for our next study, along with the new cuffs that Smart Cuffs has come out with, to kind of make everything a little bit more efficient. Because in our last study, we had a lot of variables that we had to do before we even started. So we had to get limb occlusion pressures for 32 guys for upper and lower. So that's 64 measurements we had to take before we even started. So this time we're going to have automated pumps that automatically take their limb occlusion pressure, depending on if it's an upper or lower extremity exercise. So we're really excited about that. And I think that it's definitely going to help our sample size go way up. We're going to probably be able to like double the number we had last time. So, the more data you have, the better. I felt like it was a good, I learned a lot through this first study, and, some things that we could fix. And we talked about that, Skip,
Sure.
how there were some things I wish I would have done versus, at the beginning. And you learn a lot. I mean, this is the first research, really major research I've ever done. And I've Gavin as well. And,
Yeah.
but we got some stakes in the fire. We've got some ideas that we're going to start in the beginning of June and put something else out there. And we're excited about that.
Me personally in the weight room, I have, like you said, we got kids that are knocking on the doors and they want to do what, that select few did in the summer. We'll be turning guys away because they'll want to do it every day. And me personally, I'd like to branch out to other sports. How's this going to affect some of our female athletes? How's it going to affect some of our, things like track or basketball, anything like that? We started with football because we had a big number of applicants and student athletes. But our female athletes going to have the same results, so they're going to buy in the same way. And like Mike said, there's pieces that we want to add to our BFR pumps and make it a lot easier for us. It may be a mainstay for a certain portion of our year, at least. During the off season, if we ever get one again, it may be part of our walk through the door. Hopefully, we don't have to check temperatures anymore and check COVID symptoms. Maybe the first thing you do is you come in, grab your cuffs and strap them on and let's go to work, so that's a long-term dream of ours, I guess, is, at every rack we have a set of cuffs and every athlete grabs a cuff and gets to work, and we kind of regulate which days we use it. And it could be a huge part of our program, not only football, but, how of our throwing sports going to benefit from the upper body BFR, and how of our power and sprint sports going to benefit from the lower body. It kind of opens up a whole new realm of ideas, and hopefully we get some notoriety to our study and kind of spread it amongst our athletes and get some other athletes and some other demographics interested.
Yeah, I mean, there's something you said in there that I think is worth like repeating, which is like you basically talked about BFR as just a standard part of your training process,
Right.
right? As opposed to we're doing a study, right? We're kind of
Right.
putting our toe in the water. Like you're already thinking forward far enough where this is a thing, this is just another thing that we do.
Yeah, it definitely could be, and it may not necessarily be in the off season, or it may not be necessarily be in the in season. But find a time in the year, and it could be a mainstay. It could be a big piece of our strength conditioning program, and with the study out there and people seeing results and what we've been able to do to it, we may naturally get a bunch of buy-in from that. Athletes always want the upper hand in a new age, and obviously that's a case where players that aren't getting much playing time, that may be their deciding factor. So we got a lot of interest. I think a lot of people saw us in there during the summer and strapping these things on athletes, and they thought we were crazy and wondering what we're doing. Now we have it in writing. It's sitting there on paper. I might even hang it on the wall in the weight room. And if you want to know what we're doing, read the article and sign up. So
Before you ask any questions,
right,
you've got to read this.
that's it.
Once you get through it, that's your passport to then ask me something. Is that,
we'll give them a quiz too.
That's
we'll ask them questions joining in, from the
pretty smart way to gate that, I think.
There you go.
Hey, we're gonna make that quiz short answer too. Okay, it's gonna have to be detailed.
Yeah, no choice.
Just like a blue book.
Yeah.
One of those essay things that it's been a long time, so I had to deal with any of that. But,
yeah.
that makes sense. So, in terms of branching into other sports, was that because? And Mike, if we talked about this a while ago, I apologize. Slept too many times since then. Like, was that kind of always a part of what you wanted to do with like a round 2 or a round 3 of the study, or has your thinking about how to go about this evolved as well?
Yeah, I think that was an idea kind of down the road. I think we had to jump this hurdle first, but at the same time, I was already getting other sports in place because, you see how long this study's taking. It's taking a year. Well, you got to get things in place before, you only have so many windows that you can actually hit. For example, softball or baseball, we got to get that in the fall. Or, football is more of a spring, which we didn't have this past year, but, traditionally we would do it in the spring and then lead into our summer strength conditioning program. And I think we had to validate first that this was going to work. And, I've even got some speed ideas just from seeing how with Elite, you being able to see a guy increase power from week 1 to week 3 it's incredible. You can tell everything from if they're trending up, they're trending down, and that's a game changer for what I like to call the first study, is because we know which direction to head and which one not to head in that process. So I can't thank you guys enough for helping us out and helping us point our feet in the right direction throughout this process. And two, let's be honest, 75 reps is a lot. And we don't have the biggest staff in the country by no means, but we have a good amount to where we can track most of this stuff. But I think that just validates 75 reps. Everybody's doing it by the counter on the screen, and nobody's cheating, and we're getting it done the right way. Versus what? Hey, you got to do 75 reps, and you don't have any way of tracking it and knowing that it's getting done. Well, that it just kind of makes that study less valid in my mind. So
right.
Well, yeah, implicit bias, right? But being able to measure things seems like a big deal to us. So I'll just put it that way. Leave it alone from there.
What's that? The funnest part was, one of the most fun we had was, you get these guys in a study and all of a sudden they're competing just naturally. You watch this guy's percentage hit the high 90s. Well, I can't let him outdo me. I'm gonna put more weight on the bar and I'm gonna move it faster. I got to show him up. So that was a lot of fun for us. Once they learned and they got a hang of the machines, press a button and they were trying to compete. They wanted to see who got the highest number, and if they didn't, they were ready to jump in and get another turn to try to beat their partner. So that's just the side bonus of having the EliteForm. Guys are watching those numbers not because it's just fun to do. They want to compete with the guy next to them, and it created a little competition and pushing each other, motivated them to work harder.
Yeah, I always laugh. Like we'll be talking about studies and data and stuff like that, but it's just scores.
Right.
Like when you're in the weight room going at it, it's just a score.
Yeah.
And yeah, my number's better than yours.
That's
I'm gonna look down at rack 5 and let you know.
Yeah, it's a pissing contest. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
They love it.
If that just keeps driving those numbers, if we're talking power, right, and it just keeps driving watts up, like Gavin, you're happy because you know what that means when it gets out to the field, right? And if you captured it all, Mike's happy because he's like got good data for everything he's doing.
So that's why Mike's happy.
What's that?
They finally see how big of a genius we are when they see these numbers go up, and it's really just them competing. We've been telling them we're geniuses ever since, but now we got numbers to prove it. So
I'm not just yelling at you. I might know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, what I was saying, Skip, was Mike's happy if we can keep the guys on the field instead of me running out there and taking them. And I think from a power standpoint, we saw a major kind of change in our team. Following the study and using EliteForm, and we were in the game with Florida State there for a while, most of the game, and we beat an FBS team, FIU, and we had a great season. And the biggest thing for us is nobody's ever been through what we're going through right now. As far as you're playing in the fall, you're playing in the spring, and we got a 2.5 month turnaround into fall camp to get ready for our game on September 1st against UAB. So we're in uncharted territories, and I really kind of like talking to Gavin. That's another reason why we're excited about doing this next study and implementing the BFR in our strength conditioning program, because we feel like this will help our athletes kind of recover their bodies, push that HGH throughout this process to give us a better chance of keeping guys on the field and being successful.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm sorry, Gavin. I didn't mean to talk over you. What was that?
No, no problem. I said that's just been a huge piece of our puzzle, and we switched during the summer from BFR training to BFR recovery, and the guys got so comfortable with the cuffs and the philosophy behind it. We took 1 day a week just to come in, put them in the weight room, and let them lay with the BFR cuffs on and do a little active recovery. So they went from being a mystery to being a big part of both lifting and recovery. And the guys, I think we take them on the road, and there's guys in the hotel wanting to do it all night before a game if we let them. So,
well, yeah. Sometimes the knowing when enough of a good thing is the right amount. It's always part of it too.
True. And the timing you're doing it, What we would do for recovery is we would have guys come in, and we had a little circuit recovery stations, and one of the stations was BFR. And we would pump each guy up to 100% LOP and have them sit there with the cuffs on, pressure on for 5 minutes. And then we'd release the air, and then they move to the next station. So just another way to help recover our guys that we've seen that helps tremendously, along with we got a cryo chamber at JSU that has been great as well. And being able to call Gavin and come up with a plan of what we think putting our heads together is going to work the best. It's just been, we have a great relationship. I speak volumes of Gavin. I know he does of me, but maybe not when I'm not on the podcast,
with the power of
part of getting along well with somebody is being able to take some shtick, I think. So seems like you guys are doing all right.
Yeah, we're good.
Good. Yeah, it's exciting. We're still working through some stuff, and as far as how we can use it in our programs, and I think that's what this research is all about, is trying to help that process.
And so, like, it seems like, I'm gonna jinx us all right here. We're starting to get back to what might be called normal, or used to be normal, right? And so do you guys feel like now things are lining up where you're going to be able to incorporate this into what was kind of a standard like sports schedule, football schedule going forward, or do you still feel like you're playing a bit of a shell game with some of that?
You know, in my mind, I feel really good about the direction everything's heading, and the less amount of positives that we've had from starting in the spring is a really good sign, as well as the vaccine coming out and us. I think the whole world trying to figure out the best ways to handle this, and we have a good process that works that we feel very confident in, that we've had success with dealing with COVID. And I think if we keep heading that direction and teaching our guys not only ways to stay away from COVID, but just general sanitation, washing your hands. You teach them. It's the little things, just like little things that help you win a football game. I compare the two very similar, just helping them be accountable and having. I think the biggest part of this whole puzzle is our coaching staff that is behind us 110%. And Coach Groff, trust us with, hey, what do you think, Mike? Do we, how should we handle this and handle that? And that's the big key of it. You have to communicate well, and me and Gavin communicate on a daily basis with not only the injured guys, but as well as, illnesses, things to watch out for, and having that front line. And two, the other thing that really helped us was, we have a urgent care that did our PCR testing this whole process. So, we were able to turn tests around in one day, 24
Nice.
hours,
Nice.
and that eliminates, a lot of the, guessing who might have COVID, who might not, and getting those guys away from the rest early was a huge win for us. I know not everybody out there is probably as fortunate enough to be able to do that. But we had that capability with our third party testing group, and I think that helped us a lot as well.
Nice. So we're right kind of at the point where Instagram would kick us off shortly. And besides, I don't want to, it's like Friday night there now. So I don't want to, bogart your entire Friday night. But so from a football standpoint, you guys were 10-3. How are things looking going forward? Like, you expecting another really solid year, or you have people returning?
Yeah, I think we got a lot of good returners coming back. We're actually joining a new conference. We're going from the
that's
OVC.
right.
Yeah, we're heading to the A-Sun, which will be the first year with football in that conference. So we're joining a new conference. There's some big time teams in that conference. So we're excited. I think we in my honest opinion, I think it's a much more competitive conference. We got teams like Kennesaw State, who's usually in the playoffs. EKU was with us in the OVC. They're with us now. Central Arkansas, North Alabama. So we got a lot of close competitors. North Alabama and Kennesaw State are right down the road. So some big crowds, some big rivalries, I think. And but I think this fall/spring, I think we're coming out of it with a lot of momentum. We got a lot of guys coming back, and if we ever get a chance to get into an off season, we'll see how that goes. But I think it's all how you prepare now. We got a short window to rest up from 2 weeks ago and hit the ground running again. So I'm very confident with the fall coming up and in the new conference. We'll see how things go. We're going to head out to Texas a couple times, play some teams like Sam Houston, who's in the national championship. So it's going to be competitive, but I think our guys are pumped up, excited to take our program to a new conference and pick up where we left off in OVC.
Nice. So as things get ramped back up and you get back into, would we call it round 2 of like BFR work? Is that a fair way to put it? We'll have to do this again.
A good dramatic name. You got like Rocky.
Round 2 is too boring.
1, 2, 3. We're going to come up with something, maybe the sequel or something.
I think
we can put on the shirt.
Or Danger Zone, Top Gun Danger Zone. That might be it. Right?
Yeah, of course.
I think you
should go with Top Gun.
Hey, that's my go. Top Gun.
You think any of the kids are going to know what you're talking about?
No.
we might have to play the movie first. Then we'll.
I mean, we can throw Iceman and Maverick quotes around as much as we want.
Hey.
And I'm totally with you, but
we got to come up with a good theme song, though. We got to come up with a good theme song that's going to carry us through this thing, and we'll come up. We'll build from there.
All right. Well, we'll have to do this again. Talk about how round 2 has gone, as well as like what kind of hype components were put around the whole thing, just to make sure it's well balanced. But appreciate you both coming on. For folks who are listening in, if you go to NSCA National, check out the presentation that these guys are doing, because they've done. I mean, I was lucky. I got to read some of the early drafts, right? You guys did some really nice work. And I don't say that lightly, because we have to mind our P's and Q's at EliteForm right and do the science right as well. So yeah, from the beginning to end, just thought you guys did a really nice job with how you worked through everything, particularly when you consider the fact that you're trying to deal with COVID at the same time, trying to get some wins, all of the above. So just appreciated it from a distance. It was nice stuff. So thanks again for coming on, fellas. I appreciate it.
Hey, Skip, you're the man. First
Thanks, man.
brother. Hey, we appreciate all your help and throughout this process. Hey, we couldn't have done without you, so we really appreciate it, buddy.
Happy to just be a small part, fellas. So go enjoy your Friday, and we'll talk to you both soon.
Thanks a lot. You too.
Take care, bud.
Take care, fellas.